Welcome, Martin. Yeah, just go for it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Martin Davis III, and my dad is Martin Davis Jr. over there. And thank you. I'm here to make you really hungry and want to go up to the bar afterwards. No, but seriously, I'm here to talk to you about the science of smoking salmon. And you're probably like, what science is behind it, right? You throw it in the smoker and it goes. I'm going to give you a little backstory, though, about how we got to smoking salmon in Ohio. About 20 years ago, my dad had gone on business trips, traveling, had smoked salmon all over the country and decided he wanted to do his own recipe. Was out on another trip and looked in a recipe book, decided I want to buy the book. He just wrote down the recipe and started smoking it, perfected over 5 years, and we've been smoking for about 20 years. I was really lucky. My last co-op for UC, I was at the National Park Service in Alaska. One of my coworkers had worked for Alaska Fish and Game for 30 years, taught me where to fish, when to fish, what type of fish there are, how to make it taste good, and what to look for. So we decided, hey, let's open up a smoked salmon shop here in Ohio, in Dayton. So we called the local county health department and said, hey, we want to do hot smoked salmon. Can we do that on our back porch, kind of like you do home baking? No. Did not realize that. That is 12 pounds of regulations we've had to read over the past 7 months. So one of the important things that we learned about seafood that we didn't fully understand is you basically have to look for botulism, bacteria, and parasites. And there's what they call the temperature danger zone. So for all of you who have your fridge above 38 degrees, you should get that back down to below 38. And then there's also ranges when you're cooking it that are dangerous as well. So that's why you see a lot of stuff on ice, like when you go to Kroger or anywhere else to get it. The biggest way that we prevent and keep seafood safe is by keeping it at the right temperature, which is what you should be doing with your fridge. So ice is when a product is not frozen, ice is what it's going to be on. So a typical smoker is going to be gas or electric. It's going to look like this. It's either going to be a big, huge shack or something like this that's on wheels. And they have to do what's called a temperature distribution study. That means they take the thickest piece of fish they're ever going to get, and they smoke it in the top shelf in this model, and they see how long it takes to get it to the safe temperature zone. We use all charcoal. Little finicky, not going to be as constant as electric or gas. So a temperature distribution study was not really something that anybody was going to agree we could do very well. So that was our first hurdle in trying to open up a smoked salmon shop here in town. So we had to come up with a really interesting way to solve the problem. So we went and we told our regulators, I know this sounds crazy, unlike everybody else, we're going to monitor every single piece of fish as we're smoking it and keep track of the temperature. That's also a really hard hurdle because you got to find something that's A, affordable, B, meets the FDA rules and regs, and C, can monitor a lot of temperatures at the same time. So we found that and we soldered and built our own programs to do that. The next hurdle for us was the packaging. So this is what you see as a standard packaging. It's hermetically sealed. It's anaerobic environment. There's no oxygen in it, right? You suck it all out. You have to have a really high salt content because that's how you keep the bacteria from growing and stopping them from growing. We didn't want to do that. Our recipe is half the salt content of what's out in the market. So then we looked at the retort packaging. Once again, it's an anaerobic environment because you are sucking the air out of it, but then you're also pressure cooking it. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with pressure cooking. It's basically 100 minutes at about 260 degrees, and I believe you're dropping the pressure in order to be able to, you're upping the pressure in order to boil it at a different temperature. It's like going into space. So we were lucky enough, after a ton of searching and a contact told us about, it's called 10K OTR by Cryovac. It's a really awesome bag. They typically use it for raw seafood. We're using it for our final product, and it exchanges oxygen, and that's why we don't have to do all these other things. So we got past that hurdle, and we were like, sweet, now we can give it to you in a package. The next question, how long does it last? Well, we have no idea, right? We know that if you put it in standard vacuum sealing, it's a year, and if you put it in retort package, it's 7 years. So how are we going to make ours, which is oxygen permeable, last that long? Well, this is how we actually receive our salmon from Alaska. They take it on the boat, they actually fillet it out there on the boat, and flash freeze it, which means they freeze it in about 6 hours. And put it in the vacuum sealed. So we said, why not freeze our final product and see what happens? So we had to start doing some taste testing, and there's a couple people who've been over for the taste tests. And this was a scary moment for us. We had been doing this for 20 years, but it was always for family gatherings and dinner, and we never had leftovers. So we'd never had to worry about how do you keep it for another day or week or months or whatever. Believe it or not, most people actually could not tell the difference, and I think 99% of the people actually preferred the frozen product over the fresh. And most of what you find in the store has actually been previously frozen, hence the date marking. So we got over that hurdle. Sweet, we can freeze it. Now we got to ship it to you. And that's a whole nother problem, right? The faster we ship it, the more expensive it's going to be. And if we sit there and we use a ton of dry ice and do ground, it's going to be really expensive. So you can see California is zone 8, and it's also going to take 4 days to get there by UPS ground. But the only way you can make something last 4 days is by having over 5.5 pounds of dry ice. Now you've got to go through special hazmat training and pay extra fees for your packaging. So where's the balance? And this is actually a really tough problem scientifically as well, because you've got to have the right, if you want to make it cost effective, you've got to have the right thickness and your packaging material. So too thin is what you see in the top. The perfect amount is about double that, about 1.5 inches. It's like what a standard UPS box is. And so you have to find that balance. And what we finally came up with was these special -10 gel packs. It takes, I think, 4.5 pounds of those and about 5.5 pounds of dry ice, 1.5 inches of styrofoam, and we can make it last 3 days and ship it across the country cost effectively and not be trying to do next day air. So it's been quite a journey. We have had a ton of hurdles, and I could probably tell you about 5 more hurdles we had to come over in order to get to this point. But we're looking forward to it, and we're going to be opening soon. So.